It's time for January Book Club. Yay! I'm Kylie. Jesse should be getting on soon, and we'll be able to start our January Book Club discussion of East of Eden. As you can see, I'm freezing all the time because winter is really terrible for me. It's not my jam. Oh, there's the clock. It's officially time for book club. So I'm sitting by a fire so I can stay warm this whole time. So yes, we are going to talk about East of Eden, and I'm really excited to hear your guys' thoughts about it because I had never read it before, and I was really excited to see it. Just waving at people as they join. I was really excited to read it, just because I've never read any Steinbeck before or anything, so I was excited to read it, and I absolutely loved it. But we'll talk about that in a sec, because Jessie needs to get on here before we really get underway, because she is the better half of the book club. But as you're joining, you can tell me what you thought of the book, and it's okay if you didn't finish it, it's fine. We'll give you a little bit of warning if we do any spoilers. We usually talk about the whole thing, but oh, Jessie's coming on. Yay. Okay, hi everyone. Yay, I'm so excited. Yay. I was really excited, Jordan, that Lemon, your dog, was watching because she's the best. And I knew she would have something to say about this book. So, anyway, just waiting on Jessie and then we'll start. But yeah, feel free to be commenting about what you thought about it, if you liked it, if you didn't like it, and then we'll get into some of the stuff you guys sent us earlier this week about your favorite characters and your favorite themes in the book. I immediately after I finished reading the book, I wanted to... Oh, hi, Jess.
I can't hear you, so hold on one sec.
Oh, she can't hear me. Make sure that you can hear both of us. Can you hear me yet?
One sec.
Okay, sorry. She'll be back in a sec. But I was saying right after I finished reading it, I immediately had to go back and reread my favorite parts because I thought there were I keep notes of my favorite stuff that I read in my phone, like my favorite quotes as I'm reading, and I went back and I reread every single passage again just because I couldn't get enough of it. Okay, Jessie will be coming back. Well, while we're waiting for Jessie, I can tell you that our book next month will be An American Marriage by Tayani Jones. Hi, can you hear me now?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, sweet.
I'm going to turn it up just a little bit so I can hear you really well. Okay, East of Eden, did you like it?
Yeah, I did. I'm going to be honest right away, I didn't read the whole thing.
It's really long. See how many pages it is?
Yeah, I got through 2/3, 3/4 of it, and then I had to spark notes a little bit for the ending. But I feel like I got a good...
You got the most of it.
Yeah, and the writing style and everything, so I don't feel bad about that.
Don't feel bad. There's no reason to feel bad about that at all. But I do recommend for everybody to not give up if you didn't get through it all the way, because it is a really big book, so don't feel bad if you didn't.
Do you still see that people are joined the live? Can you see the comments?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Good. I can't see them for some reason.
Yes, I can. So I will read them as they come. So do you want to talk about the basic plot of it first?
Sure.
Okay.
So basically, I'll do it's not going to be one sentence. It's going to be a few. Because
it's really
so starts with Samuel Hamilton moves his family to the Bay Area, California. And they're from Ireland, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so they're like one family, and that becomes prominent. And then the other prominent family is the Trasks.
Mm-hmm.
And they live on the East Coast. So there's like Cyrus, and then they kind of have like their whole backstory, but it's not really relevant. So they have two kids, Adam and Charles. Right? Charles? Yeah.
Yes.
And so that's kind of the first like Cain and Abel like brotherly rivalry that we meet. Eventually Adam moves to the same Bay Area, Salinas.
Yeah.
And he had Adam, wow, so many A and C names.
So many.
He had which one had the wife that committed suicide? That was Cyrus, right?
Yes. Well,
so Adam and Charles were half brothers.
Everybody basically commits suicide.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, like the half brothers were actually Adam and Charles.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And then there's like this psycho crazy lady named Kathy, who's like a prostitute and like a murderer. And Adam blindly falls in love with her. She has twins. Mm-hmm. They get married. She has twins, but for a while we're not sure if they're Adam's or Charles's kids. She basically doesn't want them, and she leaves and goes back to being a prostitute. And then we were kind of following still Adam's story, and then also the two boys, the twin boys. Aaron.
That's one of my favorite things about the book is that you kind of get to know pieces of the characters. He doesn't explain like everything that's happened to all of them all at once.
Right, yeah.
Which I loved. Like
I kind of thought we were done with Adam.
Yeah.
When we like got to like part 3 of the book or whatever. I was like, okay, bye Adam, like good story. But he was all the way to the end. So that was kind of cool. It wasn't what I expected. Basically, there's like another like sibling rivalry, but I think like Cal and Aaron, at least Cal is a little bit less like black and white. Like
he's really complex, and a lot of people said he was the most compelling character to them.
I agree with that. I feel like he was the most dimensional out of everybody, and so they're kind of both trying to win their father's approval, pretty much, and also try to just cope with the fact that they don't know who their mother is and like growing up and all these kinds of things. So that's basically Kathy eventually commits suicide, and it's kind of just like a family like generational tale, I would say.
Yeah, Little Bit of Liz just said, such an awesome cast of characters. I love them all for different reasons.
Yeah.
Were there any characters that you didn't like? I mean, besides Kathy, she's like the
you kind of
human alive.
Like to read about her,
but yeah, exactly. Especially if you love true crime.
Yeah, I personally like all the parts with the Hamiltons. I was more bored during like Samuel Hamilton. I was like, okay.
I really liked him.
I don't know. I just was more interested in the other family, I guess.
Yeah, that's okay.
But the cool thing is, like, this story is not really, like, autobiographical, but so Samuel Hamilton is John Steinbeck's grandfather. And so, like, little John Steinbeck, who's in it, like, in 2 parts, it's him. And so, like, you kind of think they're, like, these might be little vignettes of like, his memories.
Yeah.
As a child, but it's probably not truly.
It's not totally there. Yeah. Someone had written to us on Instagram, and if it was you, like, wave so I can give you credit, but they said they wanted to know more about how, like, what level of autobiography this really truly was.
Yeah.
But Little Bit of Liz just said, and who loved Lee with hearts?
Yeah, he was awesome.
Lee's awesome.
I really liked him
Yeah, I liked him too. Sarah Curry said that that Lee was the most compelling character to her because he was nuanced and mature in a time when Asian characters were not often written that way. And I think
Yeah,
that is
I thought
alluded
that was a
to.
really good insight. Like, that's true. This book is from the 50s, and like, you definitely this like white author isn't gonna, you wouldn't expect him to attempt that. But I thought it was really cool that he had an Asian character,
Mm-hmm.
Asian American. Yeah.
Yo, yeah, it was a little bit of Liz. She's just got all the stuff. She's got all the comments.
She must have read the whole book. Good job. Better than
I
me.
really liked Lee too because he was super complex, and it's
Yeah.
one of the reasons I liked Cal as well, is that they were both unpredictable
Hmm.
a little
Yeah,
bit
that's a good word for it. Like,
in the
Aaron,
way that a lot of
predictable.
humans are.
Yeah. Yeah, like certain characters you kind of knew, like Kathy, predictable because she's bad. Like you're still shocked at what she does, but you're like, oh, true to character. But then like
Right.
Lee and Cal are a little bit more, keep you like on your toes a little more. That's true.
Yeah. I also thought Aaron was just the most boring human alive.
Yeah. He was super boring.
So that goes to show you, like, it's okay to have a little bit of bad.
Yeah.
Um, so
Don't be
I
too good.
don't be too good, or else you'll be the most boring human alive. Let me look up some of the themes that you guys wanted to talk about.
Jordan's
Snooze or ram.
best.
Yeah. Okay, so a lot of people wanted to talk about the idea of choice of who we are,
Yeah.
like good, evil, and that theme. And I think that's a good segue into it, actually, because a lot of my favorite passages from it were about that idea of Tim Shell, thou mayest, like that. I had heard that a million times before, and
I'd never
never
heard
having
that.
read the book, I was like, I don't get it. But now I do. I feel like I'm part of this club.
Yeah. Isn't that weird when that happens when you read a book that you know you should have already read and you're like, oh, this really important thing that I reference comes from this book. But
It's like
I didn't know that one.
It's like me in Fahrenheit 451, which I know you
Yeah.
are like shocked always.
I'm
going
always
to read
trying to
it.
get Kylie to read that book because I'm like,
Can you
duh,
believe it?
Kylie.
I am the literal worst. What
It's
kind
okay.
of book
Don't
club
worry.
member am I? Anyway, so the idea of good and evil and that being inside everybody, and that the choice of who we are is a choice. It's not innate. No matter who we came from or what happened to us, we still have that choice. And I think that's a really beautiful theme that I haven't seen so expressly written in a book before that I can remember. Because usually it's all about like good or evil and not a lot about the choice there,
Yeah. Besides Harry Potter.
which is basically
Harry
biblical.
Potter also talks about that. Yeah. It actually reminds me of a scripture from the Bible. Well, this book is biblical, but this comes from this is like a few places in the Bible, but it's like found in the Old Testament. So in Numbers chapter 14, verse 18, it says, "The Lord is long suffering and of great mercy, forgiving iniquity and transgression, and by no means clearing the guilty, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation." And like that's kind of like a wordy scripture, but I interpret that as like some things are like generational, like certain struggles and like iniquities and sins and tendencies and things do run in families and like so I think, but also it's not, you're not bound to it at the same time. Like maybe your battle in life is breaking out of that cycle of like it reaching the third and fourth generation.
Right,
You
which
know,
is
so
what happened, I think, with Cal.
yeah, so he's like kind of burdened or weighed down by like his family and like the history and all of this like messiness, and but he's kind of grappling with the fact like maybe I don't have to be part of this legacy, but maybe it's too hard to stop type of thing.
Yeah, it's
So
that
I think
bad
that's a really good theme
faces.
because that still applies now with like families
Totally.
now. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Speaking of families in the Bible, let's break out and talk about this giant allegory of the characters and maybe some representations
Okay.
there. So the A characters, and a lot of you guys wanted to talk about this, so share in the comments if you want to, but the A characters representing either an Adam figure or a God figure for a lot of it, and the C characters representing Cain for a lot of it, and that's really super apparent in the Adam Charles Brotherhood and the Aaron Caleb Brotherhood.
Do you mean Cain and Abel or do you mean Adam?
Both.
Like,
Both.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Just checking.
So, because in one point of the story, like the character of Adam Trask, he represents like an Abel character, but later in the book, he turns into that
more like
Adam character or the God character as well.
Right.
So, anyway, that's how that can be broken up. And I also read, a big nerd alert, I found this dissertation written by this girl. I hope she's in our book club. She went to BYU. I don't remember her name, but she wrote this whole dissertation about Kathy and talked a little bit about how her initials were C and A.
Yeah.
And how it was more alluding to the fact that she has both parts inside her, just like everybody else, but it's who she decides to become.
Yeah, her choices.
That makes her mark of that C, the Cain. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I didn't read the whole dissertation, but
yeah,
I found it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like the main parallels were obviously like that, like one of the brothers would be like a farmer, the other one was like Aaron like went into the priesthood, but that's like kind of like being a shepherd, like Abel was, you know. And then other parts were like the gift offering, and like the father doesn't like one of the gifts, like
that was
he didn't
so
like
heartbreaking
money.
to me, that whole bit.
Yeah, that's like straight out of the Bible as well. So
yeah. Natalie just said, I loved how many allusions to a serpent Steinbeck used for Kathy, which is also super interesting part of the allegory.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys can feel free to keep discussing that in the comments or later. But I wanted to move on to some other themes you guys wanted to talk about, which was the idea of like masculinity and toxic masculinity versus male love, like fatherly and brotherly love, and toxic masculinity meaning not masculinity is toxic, but when it becomes toxic through different things. And so I think Sarah wanted to talk about those themes, and I thought this was a really interesting book for that, because there is really, that's the focus, are the relationships between all the men, and I haven't really read a book like that either, where the focus isn't the relationships with the women in the book, with Kathy, and then later with Abra. Abra, I don't know.
I don't know.
Those are kind of secondary to both the internal struggles that the men feel and also how they feel about the relationships with one another. And I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I agree with that. Like we're so used to reading books about like men and women relationships that it's not as often that you get like a parent-child story, but those tend to be some of my favorites. I'm thinking mainly of movies. Like the parent-child movies are always the ones that like really get me. So I thought that was cool.
I think it's because like as regular humans, we have so much attachment to our childhood and also to our relationships with our parents. That's like our first relationships we ever have. So we're able to feel those a lot deeply.
Yeah, they might be more universal or something. Like
yeah.
You
but also I really like the idea of the healthy relationships in the book versus the unhealthy relationships, and how that tension that Cal feels between, like, he loves his brother Aaron and he like wants to help him, but he feels bad because he knows he can manipulate him. Like, that interplay was really
and he goes back and forth between like wanting to punk his brother and wanting to send him to college and pay for it.
Yeah,
you're like, where are your loyalties left? How we all are, like, we all we have that feeling towards everybody in our life where we like love them and respect them, and then we also, it's fun to tease and stuff. Like, but yeah, I feel like I don't know if I like can really talk about toxic masculinity in regards to this book, besides like, I guess that like Adam was kind of a distant father. He was kind of uninvolved. And then it kept talking about how, like, he'd try to be involved, and then it was, like, super awkward.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, like, Lee already taught us how to do all these things, like, 5 years ago. Thanks, Dad. See ya. Like,
yeah.
So it's kind of just...
And it's like he never makes it all the way. There are, like, little glimpses of, like, when he comes back into being a father, and then he drops right back out.
Yeah. Yeah, Adam's dad wanted control over his boys. Yeah.
And so that's part of what you were saying before, is like some of those things are generational and we learn them from our parents, but it doesn't mean they have to stay part of our narratives personally.
Right. It makes me wonder if like Cal will be a different type of father than Adam was, which I think he would.
So interesting.
Yeah.
Especially because I really like the conversations that Lee and Cal have, because I feel like Lee is able to play the part of like almost like an omniscient knowledge. Like, he is able to like really get to the heart of what people are feeling and why. And so I love their conversations, because in them he's saying, you feel like you have this badness within you, but that doesn't mean it has to stay. Even if it's always part of you, it doesn't mean you need to act on it. And even if you do, it doesn't mean you're eternally damned or that you can never be good again. Yeah.
So he kind of is like a God figure in that that's what God is trying to teach all of us, I think. So
I think so too. I was just remembering something that Jordan said earlier. I think she sent it to us in a DM, how her number one wish is that John Steinbeck can just describe her.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the way he writes. Which I thought was amazing, because his descriptions both of like people but also of setting were just enchanting, I thought. Yeah. I really liked his writing style.
When I first started it, it was reminding me of like Ernest Hemingway a little bit, and I was like, because I like Ernest Hemingway, but he's, like, really, like, long-winded sometimes. And I was like, no wonder this book is so long. But then, like, I kind of started to, like, fall into this rhythm. And I think I like John Steinbeck better.
I do, too.
And I've read Of Mice and Men. Is that what it's called? Of Mice and Men?
Yeah.
That's weird coming out. But, yeah, and it's, like, unmistakably still him. And I really like that.
I really like the style of writing as well. And the way he's able to make each character feel different was also impressive to me.
Yeah, it's almost like the atmosphere in the room like changes depending on who you're reading about.
Which is really masterful, I think. He called it his magnum opus, and I'm like, you weren't wrong.
Yeah, I read
based on me reading only this book of yours, I agree.
Yeah, like, I read a quote that he said about it. He was like, all my other books were just practice to write this book or something.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I see why he calls it a magnum opus, because it's super complex. It's kind of, like, got some random tangents in it, but...
Yeah, it makes me want to read it again, just so I can really focus in on some of the more abstract ideas, instead of like wondering where I needed to pay attention to the plot and which characters were going to be more important. But anyway,
and there'd even be like some parts where they like put he puts weird emphasis on something, and then it like doesn't ever come up again. But that only happened to me like twice. But But yeah, like having read it all and like seeing the whole picture, it would help to like, if you were going to read it again, you could focus a little better, I think.
Yeah.
But maybe that's just our modern brains not being able to
focus on reading books. Probably.
Yeah.
That's
Long
probably
books.
some of it as well. And also, that's something that is kind of hard about reading a book like some of these classics, is that they are more descriptive and you do have more characters that you have to
definitely you have to use your patience a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So don't give up if you haven't finished reading it, everybody. Stick with it. It's okay.
Yes.
Good practice. And we're not reading another classic till June. So
is that true? Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
And that one, Little Women's, not that long, right?
No.
Yeah. So
it's like regular length. I don't know what that is, like between 200 and 300 pages. So anyway, if that's kind of we touched on all the stuff you guys wanted to talk about. So if you have any other comments, you can say them now, and we'll also post this video onto our website, and you can post comments there, and we'll try and do a recap pretty soon. By next week, we'll have a recap of everything that we talked about here, but hopefully you were able to get a sense of why this is a classic and why Steinbeck is amazing and why Tim
It's also like super American lit.
So American.
It's like, because we just read a British book, and you can so read tell the difference.
That's true. I hadn't thought about that. But yeah, you're right. This is like oozing American literature, which I didn't study in college, kind of stubbornly, and I really like it now. So
yeah, I tend to go for British lit more often, but
yeah, I do too.
This I was super glad that I read this one. I probably should have read it a long time ago, but I'm glad I read it now.
Present.
Yep.
So hope you liked it, everybody. Next month we're going to read An American Marriage, which Jesse, you've read, right? Oh, you haven't read it? Oh, I thought
neither of us. This is the first one. No, I haven't read it.
Okay, so we'll both be reading it for the first time with you guys as well. So it's An American Marriage by Tayani Jones.
Tiari Jones. Tiari? Tiari? Tiari Jones.
Anyway, it's a fairly recent book, so you may want to hurry and get it on hold.
Yeah, I think it's a 2018 book.
So you may want to get it on hold at the library right ASAP, so you have time to read it before next month. So that's it.
Okay.
Thanks for book club, everybody. It's so fun to do these discussions with you and to hear your thoughts and comments. Jesse and I haven't been
we basically just followed your guys' comments for our discussion. So it's all you guys. We didn't really contribute that much, but so thank you.
Thank you. Okay, bye everybody.
Okay. See ya.